Good evening and welcome to the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission 2024 Annual Rule Cycle Public Hearing for proposed changes to fishing, hunting, trapping, and game lands regulations. I'm Cameron Ingram, Executive Director of the Wildlife Resources Commission, which is a state regulatory agency responsible for the enforcing of fishing, hunting, trapping, and boating laws and providing programs and opportunities for wildlife-associated recreation in this great state. The North Carolina General Assembly declares through state statutes which matters of fish, wildlife, and land management the Wildlife Commission can regulate through its rules. The regulation changes being presented tonight are proposals based on years of biological data, sportsmen and women opinions, and information and experience in the best practices in wildlife management. I want to emphasize how essential your active involvement is in the rulemaking process. Your participation helps us understand your needs, concerns, and ideas. The Wildlife Commission considers all comments the same, whether they're submitted verbally during this hearing, by mail, email, or online through the comment portal. All comments are compiled into a document that commissioners review before deciding whether to adopt, amend, or reject the proposals. We appreciate your interest in the state's wildlife resources and will respectfully consider all suggestions within our authority. So on behalf of the agency, staff, and our 21-member Board of Commissioners, thank you for the participation in this process. With that, I will now call on Melva Bonner to outline the process of this hearing.
Thank you, Director Ingram, and good evening, everyone. This public hearing is scheduled from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Before we get started this evening, I would like to provide a roadmap of what to expect during the 2024-2025 Annual Cycle Rules virtual public hearing. All participants will remain muted during each division's presentation. Immediately after each presentation, we will open the floor to receive public comments, and instructions will be provided at that time. We have disabled the chat function for this hearing. However, we will be monitoring the Q&A function for technical difficulties. Please do not type any comments or questions in the chat function. And finally, just as a reminder, comments can be submitted online through the public comment portal found on our website at ncwildlife.org/proposed-regulations, via email at regulations@ncwildlife.org, or in writing to Rulemaking Coordinator 1701 Mail Service Center, Raleigh, North Carolina 27699 during the open public comment period, which ends January 30th. All of this information will be provided again near the end of the virtual public hearing. At this time, Ben Meyer, Colonel of Law Enforcement, will present the 2024-2025 Administrative Annual Cycle Proposal.
Thank you, Melva. We'll begin with the proposed change administrative regulations with Exhibit A1, Wildlife Poacher Reward Fund, also known as Wild Tip. And this changes to include Class 1 and 2 misdemeanors in General Statute 113-262. Taking fish or wildlife by poisons, drugs, explosives, or electricity is prohibited, and violations of the following inland fisheries rules to the list of offenses for which rewards can be paid to informants for providing information resulting in the arrest and conviction of persons committing these crimes. 10C 302, the manner of taking inland game fishes. 10C 304, taking and possession of inland game fishes. 10C 401, manner of taking non-game fishes. 10C 402, taking non-game fishes by special device for bait or personal consumption. And 10C 409, taking and possession of non-game fishes. This concludes the proposed change to administrative regulations. If there's any comments, we would take those now.
Thank you, Colonel Meyer. At this time, we will begin accepting public comments for the administrative proposal. For those who wish to comment, please click the raise hand button so that we're notified that you would like to speak. We will call your name and we will unmute you. You will be prompted to unmute yourself, and then you should be able to speak. For those of you that called in using your phone, please hit *9 to be placed in the queue to speak. When we call the last 4 digits of your phone number, we will unmute you. We do ask that if you comment, please keep your comments respectful to 2 minutes or less, and that you only comment on the administrative proposal. If there are no comments on the 2024-2025 Administrative Annual Cycle Proposal, this concludes the public comments for the Division of Law Enforcement. At this time, Christian Waters, Chief of Inland Fisheries, will present the 2024-2025 Inland Fisheries Annual Cycle Proposals.
Thank you, Melva, and good evening. We have 17 fish proposals to present tonight. The first 6 deal with trout. F1 will remove the delayed harvest trout water section on the Little River in Allegheny County and reclassify the lower 1.2 mile section from delayed harvest trout waters to hatchery supported trout waters. The new hatchery supported trout waters reach will be from 400 yards upstream of the State Road 1128 bridge to the McCann Dam. F2 will modify the lower boundary of the delayed harvest trout waters on Helton Creek in Ashe County. The new reach will be 900 yards upstream of State Road 1372 bridge to a point adjacent to the intersection of NC 16 and State Road 1536. F3 will clarify that tributaries to the hatchery-supported trout water section of the West Fork Pigeon River in Haywood County on the Pisgah Game Land are classified as wild trout waters. F4 will remove the wild trout water section from Avery County line to the State Road 1580 bridge on the Watauga River in Watauga County from public mountain trout waters. F5 will modify the lower boundary of hatchery-supported trout waters on East Prong Roaring River in Wilkes County. The new reach will be from the Stone Mountain State Park lower boundary to the Low Meadows Lane Bridge. And our final trout proposal will reclassify the following waters from wild trout natural bait to wild trout waters and remove the wild trout waters natural bait classification from public mountain trout waters. This includes Bald Creek, Dockery Creek, Long Creek, Chattooga River, Kimsey Creek, Park Creek, North Fork French Broad River, and the Thompson River. Proposal F7 deals with striped bass. It will modify the size limit for striped bass and its hybrids at Carr Reservoir by prohibiting the possession of fish larger than 26 inches from October 1 through May 31st. The minimum size limit will remain 20 inches and daily creel limit will remain 2 fish per day from October 1 through May 31st. The daily creel limit for 4 fish per day and no size limits will remain from June 1st through September 30th. F8 will establish a 16-inch minimum size limit for striped bass and its hybrids at Farmer Lake. The daily creel limit will remain 4 fish. F9 will remove the 16-inch minimum size limit from striped bass and its hybrids at Mountain Island Reservoir and Lake Tomalex. The general statewide regulation of 20 inches minimum size limit and 4 fish daily creel limit will apply. F10, clarify in the NCAC that the season for taking and possessing striped bass and its hybrids is closed year-round in the inland fishing waters of the Central Southern Management Area. Waters covered include the inland fishing waters of the Tar, Pungo, and Neuse Rivers and their tributaries. F11 is for largemouth bass. It would establish a no minimum size limit except for only 2 fish may be less than 14 inches for largemouth bass in Sharon Harris Reservoir. The daily creel limit will remain 5 fish. F12 applies to American shad. It prohibits the harvest of American shad in the Yadkin PD River Basin upstream of the Blewett Falls Dam and clarifies the existing language that prohibits harvest in the Roanoke River reservoirs upstream of Roanoke Rapids Dam. This proposal will not prohibit catch and release opportunities. F13 applies to crappie. It would remove the daily creel limit of 20 fish and the minimum size limit of 8 inches for crappie in Ramsor Lake. F14 prohibits fishing from March 1st through May 31st in the Pleasant Grove floodplain slough connected to the French Broad River, quarter-mile upstream of State Road 1205 in Henderson County. And that's to benefit muskie. Next proposal, F15, applies to flounder. It will reduce the daily creel limit for flounder from 4 fish to 1 fish, the 15-inch minimum size limit, and the season for taking and possessing flounder from September 1 through September 14th will remain. And our last two proposals deal with fishes in joint fishing waters. F16 reaffirms the Wildlife Resources Commission's authority over certain species designated as inland game fish in all public fishing waters and clarifies the size and creel limits which apply. Additionally, it clarifies that these species will only be taken or can only be taken with hook and line. The species taken incidental to commercial fishing operations shall be immediately returned to the water unharmed, and that the appearance of species with size and creel limits cannot be altered. F17 will reaffirm the Wildlife Resources Commission's authority over all fishes taken by hook and line in joint fishing waters and clarify the size and creel limits, seasons, and restrictions on species that may be sold. Also, it clarifies that the appearance of species with size and creel limits cannot be altered. That concludes our fishing proposals, and we'll now take comment.
Thank you, Chief Waters. At this time, we will begin accepting public comments for the inland fisheries proposals. For those who wish to comment, please click the raise hand button so that we are notified you would like to speak. We will call your name and we will unmute you. You will be prompted to unmute yourself, and then you should be able to speak. For those of you that called in using your phone, please hit *9 to be placed in the queue to speak. When we call the last 4 digits of your phone number, we will unmute you. We do ask that if you comment, please keep your comments respectful to 2 minutes or less, and that you only comment on the inland fisheries proposals. If there are no comments on the 2020.
Derek Stanley. All right, Derek Stanley, you can unmute.
I'm unmuted.
We can hear you.
Thank you. I would just like to be in support in regard to F11, the Sharon Harris Reservoir and the size and creel limit. I just want to be heard for being in support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no more comments on the 2024-2025 inland fisheries annual cycle proposals, this concludes the public comments for the Division of Inland Fisheries. At this time, Darren Barnes, Chief of Land and Water Access, will present the 2024-2025 Land and Water Access annual cycle proposals.
Thank you, Melva. Tonight we have 8 proposals to cover. Our first 5 are related to use of game lands. Proposal G1 updates the rule language from under the influence of alcohol or any narcotic drug to under the influence of an impairing substance as defined by North Carolina General Statute 24-4.01 to allow law enforcement to enforce the rule more effectively. Proposal G2 will prohibit target shooting on Dover Bay game land. Proposal G3 will restrict recreational and mountain bike riding on the Chatham Harris, and Lee game lands. Hunters engaged in the act of hunting will be permitted to use bicycles on these properties. And I will note that these are Duke Energy properties, and this was a request by the landowner. Proposal G4 establishes a scouting-only zone on the North River Game Land for waterfowl impoundments to limit the disturbance to migrating and wintering waterfowl, shorebirds, and wading birds. Proposal G5 restricts camping at designated camping areas on Thurman Chatham Game Land to September the 1st through the last day of February and March 31st through May 14th. We have one proposal related to hunting season changes. That is proposal G6, which will change the gun, antlered, or antlerless season in the Montgomery County portions of the Yadkin River Game Land from moderate to maximum. And we have two proposals related to establishment of game lands. Proposal G7 defines a 4,830 acre portion of the R. Wayne Bailey Caswell Game Land as the Caswell Small Game Focal Area. This focal area will be a draw point permit only for all quail and woodcock hunting and a point of sale permit only for rabbit and squirrel hunting outside of the normal 3-day per week framework. Hunting for big game and small game will still be allowed during the regular hunt days, which are Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, without a permit, except for quail and woodcock hunting. And proposal G8 adds a new North Bend Game Land to the Northern Mountain Region Game Land Program as a hunting by permit only game land. And this concludes the proposal changes for the land and water access proposals.
Thank you, Chief Barnes. At this time, we will begin accepting public comments for the land and water access proposals. For those who wish to comment, please click the raise hand button so that we're notified you would like to speak. We will call your name and we will unmute you. You will be prompted to unmute yourself and then you should be able to speak. For those of you that called in using your phone, please hit *9 to be placed in the queue to speak. We will call the last 4 digits of your phone number. We will unmute you. We do ask that if you comment, please keep your comments respectful to 2 minutes or less and that you only comment on the land and water access proposals. If there are no comments on the 2024-2025 land and water access annual cycle proposals, this concludes the public comments for the Division of Land and Water Access. At this time, Brad Howard, Chief of Wildlife Management, will present the 2024-2025 Wildlife Management Annual Cycle Proposals.
Thank you, Melva. I'll begin with proposal H1. This proposal is proposed to shift the western black powder and gun season so that black powder season begins 2 Saturdays before Thanksgiving and runs 2 weeks until the gun season, which will begin the Saturday after Thanksgiving and run through January 1st. These proposals are for deer. And shift the timing of the 1 week and 1 day black powder antlerless deer seasons to begin the 2nd Saturday of the black powder seasons. Proposal H2 will introduce 1 day antlerless gun seasons on private lands and increase antlerless black powder seasons from 1 day to 1 week on all lands in Cherokee, Clay, Jackson, Macon, and Swain counties. Will also increase antlerless gun season from 1 day to 1 week on private lands and increase antlerless black powder season from 1 week to 2 weeks on all lands in Buncombe and Henderson County. This change, however, does not apply to the portion of Buncombe and Henderson counties where harvest of antlerless deer is currently allowed during the entire gun season. Proposal H3 will remove specific youth deer hunts on Blues Creek Steam Station, Mountain Island State Forest, and W. Kerr Scott Reservoir. I want to clarify that this is not taking away youth hunting opportunities. We just have the ability now to conduct those hunts through our managed hunt program, and they don't need to be identified in the NCAC rule text. Proposal H4 deals with bear seasons in the Mountain Bear Management Unit. This will amend the bear rule to incorporate the following changes. Update rule text to be consistent with the use of the term designated bear management areas, terminology that is used in 15 NCAC 10D 0106. will shift the start date of the bear hunting season in the Mountain Bear Management Unit to add 9 days and create a Saturday openers for each of the 2 segments. It will remove the prohibition on hunting bears with the aid of unprocessed bait during the 2nd segment of the mountain bear season. And it will correct rule text to clarify that dogs can be used to hunt bears in Franklin County. Proposal H5 deals with pheasant seasons, and it will bring the ringneck pheasant season into alignment with the overall conservation goals of the state. It will establish it will maintain the current pheasant hunting season on the Outer Banks, which is the only known reproducing population of pheasants in the state. And it will open the season to coincide with the small game hunting seasons throughout the rest of the state for both sexes of pheasants. Proposal H6 deals with feral swine. It will clarify when dogs may be used to take feral swine on game lands and establish additional hunting opportunities for dogs to be used outside of the open deer or bear hunting seasons by individual game land rule. A concurrent rule for game lands this year will open feral swine hunting with dogs to the month of January, include the month of January as a legal time to hunt feral swine with dogs on Nantahala Forest game lands. Proposal H7 deals with regulated activities. The proposal H7 is basically a strike and move part of the proposal. We'll be moving the rules pertaining to dog training and field trials from the 10B rules, which are typically hunting and trapping rules, to the 10H rules, which are regulated activities. It will remove the requirement to ban domestically raised game birds for the purpose of field trials and dog training outside the hunting season. It will allow individuals that are training bird dogs outside of hunting seasons and outside of the controlled hunting preserves to release up to 6 domestically raised game birds each day per person. It will clarify that the only requirement for training dogs outside of the hunting season is a hunting license. Proposal H8 will amend the controlled hunting preserve rule for domestically raised game birds to incorporate the following changes. It incorporates the use of the term domestically raised waterfowl and game birds and controlled hunting preserve for consistency and clarity in the rule. It removes the requirement to ban bobwhite quail and pheasants that are released on controlled hunting preserves. It clarifies that domestically raised waterfowl, which are mallard ducks, can only be hunted on the controlled hunting preserves from October the 1st through March 31st, except on Sundays. Waterfowl cannot be hunted on Sundays. Specify that domestically raised mallards must be marked in accordance with federal regulations. Update the application requirements for controlled hunting preserve, operator license, and reduce the minimum size of a controlled hunting preserve from 100 to 50 acres. And it removes the detailed requirements for signs used to post boundaries of a controlled hunting preserve and require only basic signage to identify those areas as controlled hunting preserves. H9 amends the game bird propagation rules to incorporate the following changes. It incorporates the use of the terms domestically raised waterfowl and game birds and controlled hunting preserves for consistency and clarity. It removes the requirement for a game bird propagation license to purchase, possess, transport, transfer, or release domestically raised waterfowl or game birds to allow hunters to release these birds for dog training without a proper propagation license. And it clarifies that the propagation license is only required for individuals that are propagating or selling domestically raised waterfowl and game birds. The final wildlife management proposal is H10, and this proposal will prohibit a wildlife control agent with a suspended or revoked wildlife control agent license from obtaining a wildlife control technician certification and continuing to operate. That concludes the wildlife management proposals. And now opportunity for comments.
Thank you, Chief Howard. At this time, we will begin accepting public comments on the wildlife management proposals. For those of you who wish to comment, please click the raise hand button so that we are notified that you would like to speak. We will call your name and we will unmute you. You will be prompted to unmute yourself and then you should be able to speak. For those of you that called and use your phone, please hit *9 to be placed in the queue to speak. We will call the last 4 digits of your phone number and we will unmute you. We do ask that if you comment, please keep your comments respectful to 2 minutes or less, and that you only comment on the wildlife management proposals.
All right, Chris Kane, you can unmute and make your comment.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
I'd like to comment on proposals H1 and H5. With H1 regarding changing the western deer seasons, I don't support the change for the counties in District 8, McDowell, Burke, Caldwell, Yancey, Mitchell, and Avery, because that would take away either sex gun hunting over Thanksgiving week when children and people who work are out. But I do support H5 that changes the pheasant seasons to reflect the management goals, and I hope that proposal is passed. Thank you for letting me comment.
Thank you.
If there are no more comments on the 2024-2025 wildlife management and annual cycle proposals, this concludes the public comments for the Division of Wildlife Management. Before the 2024-2025 annual cycle virtual public hearing closes, we would like to remind everyone that the public comment period is open through January 30th. Comments can be submitted online through the public comment portal found on our website at ncwildlife.org/proposed-regulations, via email at regulations@ncwildlife.org, or in writing to Rulemaking Coordinator 1701, Mail Service Center, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27699.
Thank you, Melba. And thanks again for participating in this important rulemaking process. We look forward to receiving your comments so that we can make the best decisions on how we manage wildlife resources here in North Carolina, as we've done at the Wildlife Resources Commission since 1947. Please continue to go outdoors and enjoy the great wildlife associated recreation that this state has to offer. This concludes our public hearing.